One way of telling a story of me as an artist is through line, both as a visual element as well as a theme or thread or through line in my life. As a kid, I was always collecting, organizing, and making stuff. I studied art in all the conventional ways in college, but when I reached graduate school, I began a process of reduction from figure to landscape, from landscape to horizon to just line, repetitive, meditative. I wondered, like, what can just a line say? And I began documenting breath, poetic pattern, ink running out of a dipped pen. Fast forward 20 years, living in New Delhi, India, I was playing with the new technology of a tablet PC in the car. I had no aim to make art. I was just working with the tools. At first, I felt irritation with the lack of control, with this erratic traffic, but then the memory of those lines from before came back to me, and I felt curious, so I set out a 30-day challenge documenting my commute, a kind of EKG of the road. I was drawing on the movement, but also I began to draw on the landscape and things around me, the colors, the atmosphere, the weather. In this case, you can see the pink of flamingos rising out of a muddy safari landscape, just capturing that excitement of that moment. Eventually, I wanted an opportunity, a way of doing this, an option of doing this where that was more portable, where I was not needing to have technology. So I grabbed some small sketchbooks and began to trace like playing cards, little coasters, and shapes like that. And using pen, I would still capture this sense of movement, but also the feeling of that particular ride. I captured movement of planes, trains, boats, ATVs, and it became a kind of ritual of taking off, of landing, of entering a space, of noting the experience of things in the middle. Meanwhile, on Facebook for International Pi Day, I saw a musician who had set notes to numbers, and he was playing the music of pi as a kind of random generator. And I thought, how would it be to do that visually? And so I sat down and I gave it a try, colors to numbers, and just did a few of the digits. I began to see patterns everywhere on my street corner in Delhi during my morning coffee, sitting out on the porch, and I thought I could code that, just like those pie drawings. So I set up a regular code of the things that I would observe in order of appearance, colors to code, buses, cars, rickshaws, people walking, dogs, the corner flower seller. I would code by morning, and later on, I would paint. And I found that it really engaged me, just like the traffic drawings, it engaged me with the place where I was sitting and the dynamic, the flux of what was going on. I came home to America after 15 years of living in India, and my home in the forest seemed like the perfect place to continue this project, but I found it challenging because everything's happening all at once. So again, I asked, what can the line tell? And I came to this idea of the line telling about color. And so I would find things like lichen on a branch, or notice the colors when I was cooking purple beans, or the feather of a bird, and set these things to a code 0 to 9, and then assign that to the digits as they roll out of pi, of phi, of infinite numbers. I found also that I could track sequence through sound. I could give each kind of bird or squirrel a notation, and then set in a time frame, I could show the experience of the sound that I took in that time. This work with line has led me into many collaborations. I received a grant to create a micro-published series of books that I worked with a bookbinder, and we bound my traffic drawings into this series. I worked with a fashion designer in India. We had a silk screen made of one of my traffic drawings. We created bolts of fabric, and she designed and sewed up these different garments. And meanwhile, I was able to hold a show and exhibit with her with my traffic drawings on the wall. I found that these designs really lended themselves to carpet making, and I collaborated with carpet makers in New Delhi, and we translated my traffic patterns into carpets. And I was also able to work with bringing in my morning watch, these different like coding kind of drawings that I had done and paintings, into carpets. I was delighted to see these things scaled up in a factory and translating into an entirely new form. I figured if I was going to be collaborating with others to translate my work, I should have a go at it. And so I set out one summer working with some master weavers that are near to me locally, and I set color to code to thread and warped looms in order to translate one of my morning watch drawings into fabric, into fiber. This led me into interactive exhibits where people were given a color code and they could go along and read my paintings, and also the sound of the birds would be playing and the squirrels, and people could walk through the different panels that showed the experience that I was having. So what now? What is the line saying? I still love the repetitive meditative lines of those traffic patterns and those color coding kinds of paintings, but now I see the line circling around on itself, coming back, closing in to create circles and organic shapes. And so now this is emerging alongside the other.